Hi, thanks for joining this video. If you're planning any sizable landscape improvements, then you're in the right place, because taking action on what you learn here could be one of the most valuable things you can do to guarantee the success of your project. That's a big statement, but I can say it because it'll help you avoid the number one most costly mistake people make when improving their landscape with any measurable changes. The ultimate trouble comes down to the age-old problem of not coming in on time and on budget. You can't overestimate the importance of finishing a project within the planned time frame and within the planned budget. This is when projects don't live up to expectations. Schedules and budgets are blown, and oftentimes the design and what gets built are not what they could have been. And if it's your project, then that's bad news. It gets expensive fast, or to fix the problem becomes cost prohibitive. We found that in the vast majority of cases, 90% of projects go off the rails because of one thing, and that is a lack of sufficient upfront planning in the early phases. Here's the thing. At some point during your project, you're going to discover a way to make your project better. That's a given. It always happens. It could be a material design change. It could be a discovered need for more open space, or to screen a new neighbor where everyone thought there was no room for another house. It might be a design change that saves you money or dramatically improves the livability of your outdoor spaces. But sooner or later, you're going to want to make a change. And when shortcuts are taken early on and people rush into the design phases, they do not discover all the options they had or what they really wanted until it's too late. Without conducting a full needs and options review before the design gets started, not to mention before the builder starts work, too many homeowners regularly shortchange their opportunities and their end results. Late discovery of your real needs or options leaves you thinking, if only I had known. That's why we created the Needs and Options Review. There are 5 phases during a project when changes can be made. In the Needs and Options Review, during detailed design and permitting, when we're developing implementation plans, during pre-build, when we finalize schedules and access and scope and construction staging and inspections and so forth, and lastly, when you really don't want to make changes, during construction. If you discover better options early on, then you can easily make the changes. Make your discoveries later and you pay exponentially more, or worse, live with the fact that you had to settle for a situation that's not what you expected. Here's how costs increase the later you make changes. For every dollar you would spend to make changes in the Needs and Options Review, you'd spend $6 in the design and permitting phases. You'd spend $15 in the implementation plans phase. You'd spend $25 in the pre-build phase, and you'd spend $50 in the construction phase. Pictures tell 1,000 words, even when they're photoshopped. With our Needs and Options Review, you will never have to utter those tragic words, if only I'd known. Take a look at this graph. Time is measured along the bottom on the x-axis. Opportunity to make changes is on the y-axis. As time goes on, the possibility to make changes without big sacrifices decreases. This is common sense. It's a lot easier to change the location of a swimming pool, for example, before it has been put in the ground. Now this graph represents the relative cost to make a change. As you can see, as time progresses, changes get increasingly more expensive. The best time to make a change is at the beginning of a project. This is why a thorough Needs and Options Review should be your first step. As Abraham Lincoln said, "If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." He understood that proper preparation early on can save a lot of time and effort in the long run. Or, put into common modern terms by an expert I know, effective upfront planning will save you a bundle, reduce your risks, and give you better design. When we overlay these 2 graphs, you can see that at the beginning of a project, the opportunity for change is greatest and the cost to make changes is least. It's in this part of the process that we want to thoroughly explore all of your options. This is why a proper needs and options review saves you time and money. You may be asking, do I need a needs and options review? Here's a quick test to find out. Take out a pencil and paper and give yourself a score for each of the following questions. Out of 10, how clear are you on exactly what you want and what you need to include in your future landscape? Out of 10, how aware are you of all the various options your site could accommodate? Out of 10, how confident are you that you know all the legal requirements? Out of 10, how aware are you of the process you will need to have in place to get the project completed on time and on budget? And lastly, out of 10, how confident are you that your budget will achieve your needs? Don't worry about not being able to answer all these questions yet with a 10. The Needs and Options Review will allow us to fill in the gaps and get you ready to move to the design phase. The first step you'll need to complete is the Needs and Options Review. This process was designed years ago because we saw a huge issue in the construction industry of people starting design and construction before they had fully done their research and homework. We saw many projects by other professionals going over time and over budget. The consequences of inadequate upfront research of needs and options is like building a bridge on bad footings. The results of the Needs and Options Review are the most important part of the whole composition because, like structural footings, everything is built on top of them. It soon gets expensive to change direction once you've developed a project based on that early planning, but it's easy to make changes if we have not started putting lines on paper or gotten permits or started construction. This is what makes us different. We spend more time on the research than other firms who rush their clients along into the design phase. We take a different approach. In fact, we will only work with clients who are prepared to do the Needs and Options Review properly. We will not rush this step. It only causes cost overruns and less of a project later if we take shortcuts and don't establish solid footings on which to base everything else. The Needs and Options Review is the most important step because it sets the footings for a successful project. Once complete, the valuable insights you gain from this first phase can be used by us or any other landscape architect and will ultimately produce a better result for you. Can I save money by not paying for a Needs and Options Review? Sure, you could skip it and meet with someone who gives you a few free ideas before rushing you into the design phase. If anyone answers, I'm not investing the time for a full, in-depth Needs and Options Review, that can be the most expensive decision they make during their project. The most cost-effective time to discover your options is now. That's me, David Barch. To take the next step to your Needs and Options Review for your project, complete the form below. We'll contact you shortly to schedule a suitable time. Thank you for watching this brief training video. I look forward to working with you soon.